Good morning, boys and girls. East 88th Street by Bernard Waber. The house on This is the house on East 88th Street. It is empty now, but it won't be for long. Strange sounds come from the house. Can you hear them? Listen. Swish, swash, splash, sploosh. It began one sunny morning when the citywide storage and moving company truck pulled up to the house on East 88th Street and unloaded the belongings of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph F. Prime and their young son, Joshua. It was a trying day for everyone. Mrs. Prim just couldn't decide where to put the piano, and Mr. Prim's favorite pipe was accidentally packed away in one of the dozen cartons lying around. Swish, swash, splash, swoosh. Loudly and clearly the sounds now rumbled through the house. It's only a little thunder, Mrs. Prime assured everyone. When a citywide storage and moving man carried in their potted pistachio tree, everyone rejoiced. The truck was at last empty. The movers wished them well and hurried off to their next job for the day. Now I'm going to prepare our lunch, announced Mrs. Prim. But first I want to go upstairs and wash these hands. Swish, swash, splash, swoosh. A puzzled Mrs. Prime stopped to listen. By and by, her ears directed her to the bathroom door. What can it be? She asked herself as she opened the door. What she saw made her slam the door quickly. What's inside? Look what's inside. Let's see. Mrs. Prim knew she was going to scream and just waited for it to happen. But she couldn't scream. She could scarcely even talk. The most Mrs. Prim was able to manage was the sharp, hoarse whisper of a voice which she used to call Mr. Prime. Joseph, she said, there's a crocodile in our bathtub. Mr. Prime looked into the bathroom. A crocodile? I wouldn't want a crocodile in my bathtub. There he is, just sitting in the bathtub. Uh-oh. The next moment found them flying off in different directions. Help! Help! Mrs. Prim cried out as she struggled with the window stuck with fresh paint. Operator! Operator! Mr. Prim shouted into the telephone, and then he remembered that it was not connected yet. Joshua had heard everything, raced to the front door, to be greeted there by an oddly dressed man who handed him a note. This will explain everything about the crocodile, said the man, leaving quietly but swiftly. Mr. Prime read the note. Please be kind to my crocodile. He is the most gentle of creatures and would not harm a fly. He must have tender, loving care, for he is an artist and can perform many good tricks. Perhaps he'll perform some for you. I shall return. Cordially, Hector P. Valente, star of stage and screen. P.S. He will only eat Turkish caviar. P.P.S. His name is Lyle. Turkish caviar indeed, exclaimed Mrs. Prime. Oh, to think this could happen on East 88th Street. Whatever will we do with him? Suddenly, before anyone could think of a worthy answer, there was Lyle. And just as suddenly he got hold of a ball that had been lying among Joshua's belongings and began to balance it on his nose and roll it down the notches of his spine. Now he was walking on his front feet and taking flying leaps. Now he was twirling Joshua's hoop, doing it expertly that the Primes just had to clap their hands and laugh. Lyle bowed appreciatively. He had won his way into their hearts and into their new home. Every home should have a crocodile, said Mrs. Prime one day. Lyle is one of the family now. He loves helping with the chores. He won't allow anyone else to carry out the old newspapers or take in the milk. He folds towels, feeds the birds, and when he sets the table, there's always a surprise. I only had to show him once how to make his bed. It's a very helpful crocodile. People everywhere stop to talk with them. They say he's the nicest crocodile they've ever met. Lyle likes to play in the park. He always goes once around in the pony cart. And now he has learned to eat something besides Turkish caviar, Italian ices. Lyle is a good sport. Everyone wants him to play on his side. He is wonderful company. We take him everywhere. Just give him his Turkish caviar and his bed of warm water, and he's happy as a bird. One day, a brass band paraded past the house on East 88th Street. The Prime family rushed to the window to watch. They called for Lyle, but there was no answer. I wonder where Lyle could be. Look, someone pointed out. It's Lyle. He's in the parade. There was Lyle doing his specialty of somersault, flying leap, walking on front feet and taking bows just as he did on the first day they laid eyes on him. The people watching cheered him on while Lyle smiled back at them and blew kisses. A photographer was on hand to take pictures. The next day, Lyle was famous. The telephone rang continually and bundles of mail were dropped off by the door. One letter was from someone Lyle knew particularly well. Mr. Prim read it. Just a few words to say, I shall return. Cordially, Hector P. Valente, star of stage and screen. P.S. Very soon. P.P.S. To fetch my crocodile. Several days later, Mrs. Prime and Lyle were in the kitchen shelling peas when they heard knocking at the door. It was Hector P. Valente, star of stage and screen. I've come for Lyle, announced Valente. You can't have Lyle, cried Mrs. Prime. He is very happy living here, and we love him dearly. Lyle must be returned to me, insisted Valente. Was it not I who raised him from young crocodilehood? Was it not I who taught him his bag of tricks? We appeared together on the stage the world over. But why then did you leave him alone in a strange house? Asked Mrs. Prime. Because, answered Valente, I could no longer afford to pay for his Turkish caviar. But now Lyle's famous, and we shall be very rich. Mrs. Prime was saddened, but she knew Lyle properly belonged to Valente, and she had to let him go. It was a tearful parting for everyone. Oh, the crocodile has to go. Valente had big plans for Lyle. They were to travel far and wide, stay in many hotels. Valente did what he could to coax a smile from Lyle. He tried making funny faces at him. He stood on his head. That's silly, standing on your head. He tickled his toad and told him stories that in happier days would have Lyle doubled over with laughter. But Lyle could not laugh, nor could he make people laugh. He made them cry instead. One night in Paris, he made an entire audience cry. The theater manager was furious and ordered him off the stage. Why is Lyle sad? Does anybody know? You think he misses his new family? I think so. Meanwhile, at the house on East 88th Street, Mrs. Prime went about her work without her usual bright smile, and deep sighs could be heard coming from behind the newspaper Mr. Prime was reading. Every morning, Joshua anxiously awaited the arrival of the mailman in hope of receiving a word from Lyle. One morning, a letter did come. He knew the handwriting very well. Just a few words to say we shall return. Cordially, Hector P. Valente, former star of stage and screen. P.S. I am sick of crocodiles. P.P.S. and the tears of crocodiles. So are they returning? Let's see. Not too many days after, the Primes were delighted to find Hector P. Valente and Lyle at their door. Here, take him back, said Valente. He is no good. He will never make anyone laugh again. But Valente was very much mistaken. Everyone laughed, and laughed, and laughed. And in the end, so did Mr. Valente. So now if you should happen to be walking past the house on East 88th Street, and if you should happen to hear sounds that go swish, swash, splash, swoosh, don't be surprised. It's only Lyle the crocodile. What an awesome story. So what we are going to do is I'm going to have you write about if you had a crocodile in your house. Would you keep your crocodile? Would you not want to keep your crocodile? Would you teach it tricks? Would you make it famous? What would you do if you had a crocodile in your house? You came in. And your challenge for today is I'm going to be sending some stuff home through emails, and I want you to start thinking about butterflies, any types of butterflies that you want to think about. Big butterflies, small butterflies, anything that you want to think about, because today you're going to see a brain pop video about butterflies, and we want you to really think about them. Awesome. Miss you lots. Enjoy.